Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to talk to you guys about what happened when I got coronavirus. So I've been meaning to make this video for a while, and even this has kind of been the delay as to why I didn't start my channel sooner, is that I got sick and it really derailed a lot of my clinical rotations and the timeline of how I was supposed to have things done, and it took me a while to kind of bounce back. So I had to wait and had to heal and finish what I had to do in terms of work. What I wanted to do with this channel is to give you different experiences and talk about what it means to be a resident and what are the different things that you may go through and that I personally went through as a resident, especially during this pandemic. We can't control the different things that happen to us, especially in our training and in our life. So one of the major things that happened to me in my second going into third year is that I became a frontline worker in this pandemic, along with every other doctor, resident, nurse practitioner, and all the different people that are involved in healthcare. So one of the biggest problems and risks in being one of the frontline health workers is that you are in the front line and at risk yourself of getting infected. Initially in March, when the pandemic had started, our program was really diligent about telling us to be prepared and to do our best to socially distance, wash our hands. We rearranged the layout of our clinic and how the residents were supposed to work and operate, and where the different break stations were and things like that. And when the N95 issue became a problem, and we were told by the CDC that wearing a cloth mask or any type of mask was okay, there were so many different types of masks that were available to us, and we were wearing them. So anytime I'm in my clinic, I have a mask on. Usually it's an N95. When the mask culture really started to take off, bought a bunch of masks in many different colors, and I have to wear a mask no matter where I go. I mean, along with all of us. So we never stopped. We kept going through, working every single day and taking things as they came. We were testing coronavirus patients who we thought were infected every single day in and day out, constantly testing patients and working in various, rotations where we were encountering coronavirus patients. So that meant ICU, the ER, the regular hospital floors when we were working as a regular medicine resident or the night float resident, and clinic. So, patients who are not sick enough to require hospitalization, they're coming to our office to be, evaluated and treated. One resident got sick on the Wednesday, I remember, and I tested that resident in my full PPE gear. The resident was positive. So that resident was told, to go home and start their 2-week quarantine. For me, I felt fine. I didn't have any problems. And then my fiance, a few days later, started to feel sick. Now, I live in a 2-bedroom apartment. I don't know if you guys remember, I live with my fiance and my brother, who are both residents as well, in the same program with me. And we all interact with each other. It's not about where did you get it or what were you doing. It's in our environment, it's what we're touching, and then when we come home, we bring it home. And no matter how much of a facial covering that you wear, as soon as it comes off, you're vulnerable. So my fiance got sick, and I tried to quarantine him in our bedroom, and I slept on the couch. But what can you really do when you're in a small apartment like this? My brother as well, we said, stay in your room, don't come out. But you gotta walk through to get to the front door. It's in the air, and it's in all the surfaces you touch. The symptoms my fiance had were fever, chills, fatigue, weakness, malaise, muscle aches. Went ahead and got tested, and he was positive. A few days later, I started to feel sick. So I had more of the classic coronavirus symptoms, where it was a upper respiratory infection. Initially had felt a dry cough, the classic dry cough. So I had the tickle in my throat, which became a dry cough, and it got worse and worse as the days went by. And then I got the sinus congestion, the coughing, the sneezing just got worse. I couldn't breathe. All my sinuses were blocked. I went to get tested and I was positive. So that's when my 2-week quarantine started. After around the 4th day is when I lost my complete taste and smell. Now, this was the most difficult symptom to deal with because complete loss of taste and smell is a completely new experience I had never really understood. Until it happens to you, you don't understand. The fact that you're eating food and you cannot taste it, it's the most difficult experience to explain and to have people sympathize with you for, because I couldn't feel satisfied that I had eaten anything that day. So I would actually be hungrier throughout the day, even though I was eating calories. It was terrible. I was trying to eat pasta to try and satisfy my stomach, but you cannot taste it. You can maybe feel the texture of the sliminess of noodles and the warmth of the sauce, but all I could taste was that it was bland and it was just gooey and it was just a mess. All I could really eat for that week was bread, macaroni, like KD, and boiled noodles with a little bit of pasta sauce, even though it did nothing for me. I just needed to visually see that I was making food and then try and imagine what it tasted like when I ate it, even though I couldn't taste it at all. The loss of taste and smell lasted me around 2.5 weeks. And as it started to come back, it was pretty slow. First thing I did taste was salt. And if you guys know me, I hate salty food. I hate it. I hate highly, highly salty stuff. Sweet kind of came a little bit later, like a light sugary flavor. And it took some time, but I did get it back, which I was really grateful for. Throughout this experience though, the second hardest part was the chest pain. So with coughing and having a blocked nose and having to breathe through your mouth for everything, I had a lot of chest pain. It was a deep chest pain. It was deep into my heart and my lungs, and I would get periods of chest tightness. So I would feel like I couldn't expand my lungs. I would be laying flat, not moving at all, and I would have pain and tightness as if someone was sitting on my chest. Now, I don't have any cardiac history. I'm 28 years old. I'm very healthy, and I try to eat as clean, and I do exercise 2 to 3 times a week, including heavy cardio where I run. So this chest pain was very alarming, and even when I would walk, no matter what, although we had to quarantine at home, I still had to walk my dog. All of us did. So we all would take turns and only walk her at the end of the day when we knew no one was around, and always wore gloves when we would touch the elevator, and always were masked up. We're really careful not to potentially expose anybody else. Just walking to the small little area of grass across the street where we have our dog go to the bathroom, that took a lot of effort. To go from our apartment to the elevator, downstairs, out the door, to the park, and then to come back, it was tough. Like, you would get winded. And I always, throughout this time frame of the pandemic, heard patients say this. I tried to understand and sympathize and say, you know, this is the nature of the disease and it may or may not get better for you, and we're just gonna have to wait and see. But until I experienced it for myself, I really was shocked. And the chest pain and tightness is definitely the most alarming, and this is where patients can go from mildly ill to moderately and then fulminantly sick, you know, where they develop COVID pneumonia and have to be hospitalized. So I'm very grateful and very thankful that that did not happen to me or anybody else that I knew or lived with. But all of us as young people need to take it seriously, in the sense that this is not a simple viral infection. It has a huge range of symptoms and illnesses, and it can affect each person differently. And loss of taste and smell is not life-threatening. It's not the problem. But the damage to your lungs and your physical health in terms of how you're able to get up and go and do things is really, really scary. Another big important thing is our mental health. So I'm really grateful, and I don't wish that this happened, but I am grateful that I was home with other people while I was sick. And I know that's not the case for a lot of people. People are going to be isolating at home by themselves without the ability to contact their family. But I was able to share the experience with other residents, and we were able to call each other and communicate with each other. And throughout this entire process, my program director was very, very sweet. She called me every single day. She called each of us individually every single day to make sure we were okay. If we had any stresses or any concerns or anything, she really was there as like a counselor to help us through that process. And after those 2 weeks were over and we were medically cleared to go back to work, it was just a huge relief that everyone was so supportive and they were really there for us and really wanted to help us if anything was really upsetting or stressful. And I really, really think it's important that people talk about and monitor their mental health, because the infection is very scary, and the fact that things can always progress and get worse, it's really eye-opening, and it really makes you think about what's important in life. And what's important is your health, your wellness, your mental health, and making sure that you have positive connections with people in your life and that you can talk to them whenever there's something going on. And it's not just about if you're sick. That's enough of me rambling, and that's my experience with coronavirus and what we ended up doing. And if you have any questions, then just leave a comment down below and I'll try and answer it. And if you guys have any other suggestions in future videos, then please let me know, and I'm gonna film more for you guys. All right, bye guys, take care.